So you're ready to get in that new home. You're going through the mortgage process, but you might be wondering, how much should I actually disclose to my loan officer? Does it matter? Do they need to know everything? And what can they do with that information? We'll talk about that next. Welcome into the Smart Mortgage Show. I'm Ben George with Bill Linton, Regional President at Cross Country Mortgage. In this video, we're going to be talking about that question of how much should you disclose to your loan officer? And Bill, I like this question, and I think we've touched on this a little bit in the past, but I want to dive into it a little bit more with you because I guess a lot of people don't go through this process very often, maybe once or twice in their lifetime, and they just don't know a lot about the process. And this is an interesting kind of angle on how you work with your clients.
Yeah, it's a great question, and Ben, more often than you would think, people withhold information because they don't want to say something that would put them in a bad position or preclude them from not being able to get a loan. So a lot of times people are careful with what they say, and we obviously try to open them up to give us as much information as possible, because the more information that we have, the better we can guide them. It kind of, if you've ever watched a series or a show where there's an attorney involved and the client doesn't tell the attorney something and it comes up in the courtroom and the attorney's like, looks at their client and they're like, don't ever do that to me again. You got to tell me everything, right? So we're certainly not that harsh, but really the way we look at it is like, I'm your attorney, so you can tell me everything. The underwriter's the judge, so we make sure that we, obviously everything we do is above board, everything we do is completely legal. We're never going to do anything to get you in trouble, but we're going to make sure that we provide information to the judge in the way that best supports your case, and having more information so that we can plate the file and put the file in front of the judge, the underwriter, in the best light possible. That really is the best way and the best policy and the best way for the customer, the borrower, to get the best terms and the best outcome.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a specific situation. I'm curious kind of how detailed you need to be, because I imagine, if there is someone that's looking to buy a home and they have, a relationship, maybe not married, have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and have kids together, but they want to put everything on their own name, under their own name, and they obviously have the money maybe to take care of that. How much do they need to tell you about, their living situation? Hey, I've got X number of kids. I support X number of people. That's why my expenses might look like they are. I mean, how detailed do you want to get with a client?
We really want to get detailed because we don't want any surprises. So if we have all the information in the beginning, and by the way, not all lenders work this way. Okay, so we're willing to do extra work up front so that as we move through the process, we don't hit a snag, have to restructure the loan, change the product, change the interest rate, your payment goes up, you need more money down, all kinds of different things that you weren't expecting, and now you're under contract to buy a house, and now the payment's $500 higher a month. And if you don't go through with it, you could lose your deposit. Maybe you've got $20,000 down on this house. Now you're obligated to buy it. We don't want that, right? So we're going to do more work up front to make sure we've asked all those questions. We know how many. So Ben, it's important to know how many dependents there are, or how many people that are living in the household. For certain loan products, that could make or break their ability to get the loan altogether. So that's a really important thing for us to know so that we can guide people appropriately and put you in the best product from the first time that we send you a loan estimate and a pre-approval, and we have our pre-approval consultation. We want to make sure that's the right loan. Unless something dramatically changes in your situation after we've taken that initial snapshot. If something changes, okay, that's new information that nobody had. They didn't even have it because it's new to them. But otherwise, we want all the information so we can put the best product and program and loan structure in place from the very beginning.
And if I have learned a little bit from you through the years, that even goes with disclosing current situation, but also maybe future plans, right? If you are thinking about changing jobs or you're thinking about making a big purchase, like these, even just the idea of something that might come up during the process is also important to disclose.
No, yeah, absolutely. So we put a little warning in lots of our emails that say if anything changes, if well, first, to the best of your ability, don't go out and buy a new car, boat, or RV or airplane. So that could dramatically change things. If you're going to change jobs or you have any plans of changing employment, let us know so we can be right on the forefront of that with you and make any adjustments needed. Or maybe you decide you might need to wait to change that job because you can't change the job and buy the house. Or, hey, don't worry about it. You can do all that. You can have your cake and eat it too, but you can do it confidently and know there's not going to be an issue, right? So the other thing too is like, if you're going to come into some money, do we structure the loan up front that accounts for, okay, you're going to come into some money. What do we do with that money once it comes into your bank account? Do we plop it down on the mortgage? Do we re-amortize the loan or recast it? How does that fit into your investment strategy and your retirement plans? So we definitely want all the information, even if it's not a current thing today. Hey, I might get X amount of money in a bonus. How does that affect things? Should we take that into consideration today or make sure it can fit in down the road?
Is every loan officer the same, Bill? I know you guys take a lot of pride in the work that you do and the relationship that you build with the customers you work with. But is this something you should maybe ask if you're maybe having an early meeting with a potential loan officer, just in terms of, hey, how close is our relationship? How much communication do we need to have? Are we going to have? Is that different from person to person, place to place, or can you assume that this will be the case other places?
Do not assume. It's very different all over the board, and be very discerning and ask really good questions to make sure you're working with the right loan officer that meets your needs, right? So it's kind of just like, if you have an illness, you want a doctor that's going to be detailed, get all the right information, and prescribe the right medicine and protocols. If you, God forbid, were ever in trouble with the law for any reason, you'd want the best attorney representing you, right? So in these cases, you want the best representation possible to advise you on how to make the best financial decisions. And what we see a lot is companies, they dangle a teaser interest rate, and behind that is no advice. Maybe you get the rate, maybe you don't. We see it all the time. Rates change right before settlement, or the rate they dangled was just like this outstanding scenario that nobody qualifies for. And then when they get the real numbers, they were kind of, lured in with misinformation, and behind that is no real advice. And it's a shame because the consumer, I mean, I'm a consumer too. So, sometimes you see something that looks really good, but be careful because it might not be real. And like if you're comparing, I just had somebody yesterday who said, man, I appreciate you got on a call and we reviewed everything in detail and you gave me strategies for how to save money and how to not pay as much interest. And, that person said, I've talked to 2 other lenders, but nobody did anything like that. So I think that put us over the edge on, who's going to help you to make the best financial decision. It's going to be the person that's available and wants to talk through these things and help with insights and help to enlighten somebody on these really important things that, by the way, Ben, if you don't do this every day, if you're just not like that, I think about this a lot because it's what I do for a living. So we actually are going to, whether you ask for it or not, we're going to provide a level of helping you understand these concepts. A lot of lenders don't. They dangle a rate. They throw you a pre-approval. Call me once you're under contract is their philosophy. Well, that's just not what we do. It's not how we operate. So to your original question, there's a wide landscape of how people operate.
Well, you offer the free 15-minute mortgage consultation, which you can get by just texting the word LEND to 21,000. But Bill, how much do you disclose in this first meeting? Like, what should somebody expect to be talking to you about initially?
Initially we're going to have a lot of questions because it's a process of discovery. We've got to learn about them before we can tell them anything. It's like, it's funny because sometimes people say like, "Hey, just quote me a rate," and it would kind of be like calling a contractor and saying, "Hey, I want you to come finish my basement. Can you just give me a quote?" Well, that'd be impossible. They don't even know the size of the basement or what materials you want to use, or right. So in order for us to give you any kind of accurate information, we need information. So we're going to ask a lot of questions, learn about, where are you today? How do we, you're at A, you want to get to B. How are we going to get you there? What's most important to you? What's the financial plan in the short term, midterm, long term? What types of loan products? So we're going to ask a ton of questions, let you know these are the things that we're thinking about, and these are the things we're going to address through the process.
All right. Well, thanks for taking us through that, Bill. I know it's important to disclose information to your loan officer. Again, act like they're your attorney, right? They're there to protect you, but also want to know as much as possible to make sure you're going the best direction moving forward with your home buying experience. So, Bill, again, appreciate your time. And if you want to learn more, go to smartmortgageshow.com. You'll learn more about Bill Litton and the team at Cross Country Mortgage there. But please subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done that. We'd appreciate that support. And we'll look forward to talking to you again on another video. This program is for informational purposes only. Please consult a qualified professional before taking any action. Bill Litton is a loan advisor and regional president with Cross Country Mortgage, NMLS number 147060.